Coffee with Caregivers production costs are covered by a partnership with United Healthcare and the National Foster Parent Association. We receive no federal or state funding and depend on our constituents and viewers to help us achieve our goals to provide support and services that meet identified needs within our mission. We would like to welcome the viewers of Coffee with Caregivers to the family. The National Foster Parent Association offers several membership opportunities for individuals, child placing agencies, and state and local affiliates. You can join today or donate at nfpaonline.org.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Caregivers. Another wonderful Tuesday morning. I hope it's being good to you so far. Things are jumping around our house, getting ready, hopefully, for my husband to come home from the rehab hospital next week. So we're excited about that, trying to get all the obstacles out of the way so he doesn't trip or fall and, all those sorts of things you have to do when somebody has to be very careful. We've got lots of hope for our future and are feeling much joy in our heart knowing that he's going to be well and he's not going to have paralysis, things like that. So, we're counting our blessings at our house. And I hope you can say that for your home as well and for your family as well. I read on one of the last episodes something that I got from Sean Dietrich and his blog, Sean of the South, and I try not to do that very often. But he wrote another one that really hit me, and I wasn't going to use it. And then this morning, prior to this episode, I got two very poignant phone calls from foster parents in different parts of the country, talking about how worried they are, the anxiety they're having, not knowing what they should do. Should they ask their kids to be moved? Should they not? They don't know if they can live with the COVID rules that are looking to come down the pike, what their county or state or city is doing. It's different everywhere, so it's really hard to help folks sometimes, except just to listen to them and to let them know that they're not alone and trying to figure out what's the next step and where do I go to get help. And I'm so thankful that they both called NFPA. And the interesting thing is neither one were members of NFPA. And yet when they Googled, we came up and we helped. And they both said, thank you so much for taking the time. I didn't even know much about NFPA or anything. I didn't know I could call and have somebody that actually understood what was going on, listen to me and, give me some pointers. So when I read the Sean of the South blog this morning, I thought, maybe I need to do this one too. Maybe this will fit into some of the feelings and the emotions that America is going through at this time in our history. And so the blog is called Dear America. And Sean is as I say, a prolific writer. He writes a blog every day, 7 days a week. He's an author of books. He's a musician. I think a very wise man. And he writes with some humor as well. And that always gets thrown in, takes even the really serious stuff and makes it easier to read and fun to read. So there'll be some humor in this one as well, but you kind of have to listen to catch it sometimes. So here's what he says. At sunrise, the great Smoky Mountains are so majestic their beauty could kill you. So are the Rockies and the Sierra Nevadas at sundown. The same goes for the Tetons, the Blue Ridge, the Bighorns, the Elks, the Adirondacks, and the Appalachians, which were carved by the pocket knife of God. Oh, and the Missouri River. When seen from 34,000 feet above, it will break your heart with its glory. The Missouri moves like liquid silver across a green patchwork of American farmland. So does the Mississippi, the Rio Grande, the meandering Columbia, the Ohio, the Arkansas, the Tennessee, the Colorado, the Allegheny, the Chattahoochee, sorry, and the boisterous Potomac. But then you can also feel this wonder in other places, like when the Gulf of Mexico reflects the colors of dusk, or when you gaze across the Chesapeake Bay, past the river reeds and the winter water, when you listen to the geese overhead honking their chipper hellos. You get the same feeling when standing on Ellis Island. You begin to visualize the hundreds of thousands of congregated Germans, Norwegians, Chinese, Dutch, Sicilians, Hungarians, Polish, Jewish, Danish, and Swedish, all dressed in drab rags, holding tight to their entire lives crammed into duffel bags. And it all makes sense why your old man was such a tightwad when it came to buying your Little League uniform. I visited Ellis Island once. I could swear I almost saw my Scots-Irish ancestors waiting in line. I could practically feel their breath on my neck. You experience the same feeling in Savannah, within Trustee's Garden, when an expensive tour guide reminds you that this was where the first seeds of American cotton, apples, coffee, and wheat were experimentally grown. And when you walk Savannah streets to Oglethorpe Avenue, you feel a similar awe inside the home of Juliet Gordon Lowe, a girl who was deaf in both ears, who founded a humble youth organization in 1915. Her all-female club was built upon the idea of empowering girls and teaching compassion and kindness. She called them Girl Scouts. And although they were laughed at by high society snobs of their day, this group would predate the American women's right to vote. The great feeling I speak of can be found when you stand on the grass of Mount Vernon, Virginia, or overlooking the Whitewater, enjoying the same view General Washington loved to watch while sipping his tepid beer. And in Moab, Utah, within the mysterious Arches National Park, where ancient remnants of time stand like archaic ruins. You sense the same reverence high upon the south rim of the Grand Canyon when staring at an itty-bitty, mercury-like river miles beneath you, just before a 12-year-old tourist almost knocks you over the edge because he's playing tag with his sister. You gaze over the canyon at the pancake-stacked rock formations of red wall limestone, bright angel shale, and coconino sandstone, and you sigh a quiet but heartfelt, whoa. You will find this sacredness within the Navajo Nation, the largest land area still retained by an American indigenous tribe, covering 17,544,400 acres, an area larger than 10 US states. And in Atlanta, on 501 Auburn Avenue, inside the two-story Queen Anne home, where a young boy named Michael King Jr. grew up before later renaming himself Martin Luther King Jr. You will feel wonder in Montana, where North America's first dinosaur specimen was found in 1854, where 50 years later the first Tyrannosaurus rex was discovered in Hell Creek. And in the serenity of the Great Plains of Nebraska, Kansas, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, the remains of North America's ancient interior sea, which covers approximately 1,125,000 square miles, roughly one-third of the United States, an area slightly bigger than Disney World. The lowlands of the Mississippi Delta, the wilds of Alaska, the Great Lakes, the deserts of Nevada, which can cause a man to feel fear, awe, and gratefulness for his GPS. The Ozarks, Yosemite, Yellowstone, Mount Shasta, and of course, Cracker Barrel. And in Adams County, Pennsylvania, where a battle was once fought near the borough of Gettysburg, where an estimated 28,000 men fell. Our men, our brothers. Also in St. Augustine, Florida, where in 1565, Don Pedro Menendez de Aviles and his 800 colonists ate supper with the indigenous Timucua and held the first Catholic Mass on future U.S. soil. This good feeling is in every truck stop cafe, every beer joint, in Boston's Fenway Park, at Busch Garden, Yankee Field, Talladega Superspeedway, burger joints, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the American Royal Barbecue Competition, Wednesday night church meetings, Pinewood derbies, bunco night, and every backyard game of hide and seek. In the ornate finery of the U.S. Capitol building, which has survived 228 years of turbulence, in the vacant dust of Death Valley, in the suffocating swamps of the Everglades, and in the nightmarish hellscape that is LaGuardia Airport. Nothing can take this feeling from us because, don't you see, this feeling is us. It is not a sensation we experience privately, but it is felt within our common bond. We belong to us. So no matter how the flames of discord burn, no matter how the fires of time threaten to consume our fabric, no matter how badly our nation's brothers disagree, today I just want you to know that I love you. I truly do. Not only because we are American, but because we are human beings whose ancestors were bold enough to call themselves by such an ambitious and inspiring name. I hope that had some meaning for you because it sure did for me. I encourage you to Google Sean Dietrich or Sean of the South, SEAN, Sean of the South, and maybe subscribe to his morning blog. It's really rewarding. Often it's just what I needed to start the day. So sometimes I try to make it the first thing I read in the usually hundreds of emails that come in to the NFPA. All right, enough of that. So I have my cup this morning. Again, I don't know what I do without my awesome friends who, when they see a cup and they know that I do this on a regular basis, oh, that's a good one for Irene. So this one is, if I get it, make it happen. Perfect for me. Make it happen. There's so many things that need to happen, right? So many things that need to happen for foster care in this country. So many things that need to happen for each of our families as we do this work. So many things that need to happen in our everyday life otherwise. And so many things that need to happen for our friends and our family and our neighbors. So I love the cup. And I thank my friend very much who gave it to me. And then we're going to make this happen, whatever it all is. All right, now to the important stuff. So excited to introduce you to my guest today. I want to introduce you to Kim Combs. Good morning, Kim. It is so good to see you. Kim and I have become really good friends over a period of many years. We met because of foster care and kind of got a bond just in getting to know one another. But then when I knew of Kim's commitment to his family, to his faith, and his exceptional ability to communicate with other people, so much of what his wisdom is and what he's learned over the years, it just cemented my need for having Kim Combs in my life. So I'm going to ask Kim to introduce himself and talk to you about what he thinks is important for you to know. And I understand he has 3 cups to tell us about this morning. And then we'll kind of get into some good discussion about foster care. Take it away, Kim.
Okay. Yeah, I have 3. You told me to have my favorite cups. One of them is this one. It says, "Joy of the Lord is your strength." This one is a Colorado cup. Very favorite color, cobalt blue. And this one is the one that I'm drinking out of this morning from Psalm 46:10. 10, be still and know. And the rest of that is be still and know that I am God. And in today's time, when I drink this, like, be still and know. Yep, because I can't do anything about it. And the reason I like these cups so much is because all three of them came from my son, Matt, and my future daughter-in-law, Whitney. I do have another one upstairs in our bedroom that I keep money in, and it's a red cup that says Papa that my other son gave me for being Grandpa. That's what his kids call me. So, yeah, I love my cups first thing in the morning. Thank you for the introduction, by the way. We've known each other for what, about 20, 25 years, probably?
Yeah, I think so.
There. Yeah. So what should people know about me? I've been in the human service field since 1980 in some capacity or another. I started out in a residential facility with about 14 kids that had behavioral and emotional issues. I worked there for about 3 years. And the thing is over the course of the last 40 years, those kids that were in residential treatment back then would go into our just licensed foster parent home today. That's how much things have changed with our kids and the issues and problems that our kids have. I worked for the Department of Human Services here in Iowa for 5 years. I was a developer and deliverer of trainings for Iowa State University in Ames. I was hired to do that. I've been a family-centered service worker, a family therapist, did a couple other agencies in close proximity to my home here in Colo, Iowa. I have been a foster parent to about 35 plus teenage boys, some before Diane and I got married in 99, and many afterwards. And then we've adopted 5 kids. And when they came in, they were labeled special needs. We adopted Logan when he was 10, got Logan when he was 10 and a half months old. He turned 22 last month. Then we adopted a sibling group of 4. So yeah, it never a dull moment around here. We're empty nesters now, by the way, but that doesn't stop us from still being actively involved in the family dynamics and other ministries that we're involved in. So yeah, I've got a lot of experience under my belt in various capacities. And I was also on the National Foster Parent Association board for what, 5, 6, 7 years, somewhere in there. And that's how I got to do. And that was an amazing time period in my life. I absolutely loved being on the board and being able to be a part of something bigger than what any one of us are individually. And I've been on the state board also and several committees throughout the course of time that people have called me to. And now I do private counseling and I do trainings wherever people want me to come.
Well, I think, I want to talk a little bit about some of my really great memories with you, and they were at foster parent conferences.
Yep.
Many were at National Foster Parent Association conferences, but a whole bunch of them were also in Texas at our Texas Foster Family annual conferences. And everybody wanted to know, is Kim going to come next year? Is you going to have him back? And then we'd be getting close to the next conference. So is he on the schedule? Because your ability to engage people, and the emotion that you are willing to allow when you talk about experiences that helped form who you are, how you delivered services to children that joined your family, how you cared for your family during that process, are all so raw and genuine that everybody that listens to you feels what you feel. And it, for me and for others that we've talked about it's affirmation.
Yeah.
For our feelings. And sometimes they weren't very good feelings, They weren't all love and butterfly kisses. They were, I want to get rid of this kid. I can't stand this kid. This kid's driving me crazy. I think I hate him. Those things that we go through when we're doing our very best with this what we have in order to meet somebody else's child's needs. And your ability to say those things genuinely and freely let the rest of us feel them too, and not be ashamed of those feelings, but to put them in the proper perspective and to put them where they belonged, because ultimately we did our very best with each child. And when we know that, then we shouldn't have past regrets. What we need to learn from, which you are always, again, very good at talking about, is lessons learned.
Yes.
From each of those situations. And what did we learn? How do we learn to adjust how we respond to things? How do we learn to watch closer for cues, whatever it all was, in order to make life as good as it could be for these kids and their families. So I will forever be grateful to you for that, Kim, as will many, 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 many other foster parents across this country, and lots of caseworkers who I think got it, hearing you talk about that. Because sometimes I don't think they were able to really hear maybe the foster parents that they're directly working with because of the pressures. But to go someplace and then to hear all these same things again from somebody else who could reaffirm that, these folks really are feeling this way, but they really are doing their best. They're not being derelict. I need to help them more. I need to give them some more attention.
Yes.
So given what you know about foster care now, and we don't foster anymore either after 27 years. So it's, hard for me to say what the true experience on every day of foster parents is now, but boy, I hear from them every day. So I do have that, but I know that you work with, with children and families still. So do you have any ideas about just how to make people understand or help them to understand that they really aren't alone, that there are organizations out there to help, that there are local organizations that can help? How do they not feel disconnected?
Mm-hmm.
How do they get better information due to COVID? How do they deal with how the legal things are working with their child? Just all of those things that seem to be causing the turmoil. And at least those are the things that are the highlights of the calls that I've been getting.
Yeah. Again, just thank you for the kudos. And Texas, I always looked forward to Texas, whether it was the state conference or the one.
Winter growth.
Yeah,
Winter.
that one. And I've been to I don't know how many conferences in Texas, and your guys, foster adoptive parents in Texas, they are so fun, and I have enjoyed getting to know them, talking with them, and I still have some on Facebook, that I connected with the last time I was down there, which was now several years ago. But yeah, it was an absolute blast to come down there. One of the things that I strive to do when I do trainings, when I talk to people, is be real. That was something that was powerful to me. When people are real with me and they don't blow smoke, and they show the raw emotions that life can bring sometimes. I learned by that. I learned a lot from the different people that I met at NFPA over the course of time, the professionals. And on the other hand, I have learned so much from other foster adoptive parents that I had the honor and the privilege of being able to be a part of their lives, whether it be through conferences or whether it be because I had clients that were in foster care. And I didn't pretend to know everything because I don't, and I'm aware of that. So I was willing to learn and to come along beside to encourage. And sometimes, and this is real, it's not just a saying, sometimes we just sat and cried together, honestly, because I didn't know what to say. I couldn't change the situation, but I could be there with them, I guess it just reminds me of one of the things that I heard years ago that was powerful. How many people, when we experience a grief, people try to say the best thing that they know how to say, and they're well-intentioned. But afterwards, people say the ones that meant the most to me were the ones that would just come and sit and cry with me. And that spoke louder than any words that were spoken through that grief period. And sometimes that's what we do. we do live in very tumultuous times. There is no doubt about that. One of the things that I have done is I keep connected with people such as yourself. I love going to YouTube and watching encouraging things, TED Talks, books. I'm an avid reader. I love reading and learning, trying to incorporate, the things that I need into my own repertoire of teaching or counseling. I Actually, we're going to get to this, and I thank you for this opportunity, but I also have been told over and over and over, because of my ability to communicate, Kim, you need to write a book. I have been told that for I don't know how many years, literally decades, as I was training the Iowa Foster Parent Association, Texas, or whatever state I was in. And so I finally did that, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But
Right here.
yeah,
I got it right here.
being connected with foster care support groups, for me, church. I have friends, the best friends in the whole world. I am so tremendously blessed. And people come along beside me, pray for me, cry with me, laugh with me. And two, as I have gotten older, and Facebook and other ways of getting a hold of each other, I've had kids come back that I had on my caseload years ago. And it is so encouraging to have them connect with me and say, you have no idea how you affected me and how much I appreciate you. In fact, I just got a private message on Facebook a couple of days ago from a kid I have not seen or talked with for 12 years. He was one of my son's best friends. And he just said, I just want you to know that I love you. And it's those things that come at the most impeccable times that keep you going.
Isn't that true? I got a call this morning from a young man. Well, he's 39 now. I don't know why I'm getting feedback there, but anyway, he's 39 years old, and he was 16 when he went home he was with our family for, I don't know what that feedback is, my goodness, for 3 years. And we heard from him periodically, a little bit, and then he went on his way. And we became friends on Facebook about 6 months ago, I think. He found me, and then today he calls and he says, "Mom, I just needed to find out. I saw on Facebook where Dad broke his neck, and he's doing okay. Is he really doing okay?" I said, "Yes, he is, and hopefully he'll come home next week, maybe from rehab." But I really want to come visit. I think I need to come visit y'all. And I said, "Well, I hope you do." And I gave her our address. So, those things, those are such important occasions. When, after all these years, "Hey, Mom, how's Dad?" I want to make sure Dad's okay, right?
Yes.
Those are the reaffirming things that so many times foster parents give up because they don't see the value in what they were able to do for a particular child right away. And sometimes those things are years in the making. We sure learned that through the kids we adopted, right? And how life's changed, and how proud we are of kids that the system said to write off and shouldn't even be adopted. My 2 boys were that way. And, now, oh my God, they're such wonderful men. So we just never know. Boy, I wish I knew what that was horrible noise is. But anyway, I understand what you're talking about, so I'm gonna let you talk some more since I'm echoing here so bad.
Well, we don't hear it here, so.
Feedback there, sounding
Yeah, one of the things that you and I talked about earlier, I think maybe just in emails, is a course called the Nurtured Heart Approach. I took that training with Howard Glasser, the developer and designer of that approach, And I have to say, it was one of the very best trainings I've ever been to in my life. I wish I would have had it 40 years ago when I started my career. But it's a way of being able to get to a child's core and show him his inner wealth. We are designed and hardwired for relationship, and our kids need and want that, contrary to what we might think sometimes based on their behaviors. But sometimes you're just scared to death to get close, and they push us away by their behaviors, but they're really hoping and praying, please don't leave me. I need you. Don't abandon me, because they've already had so much of that in their life anyway. So I still continue to use the Nurtured Heart approach. That's one of my most popular trainings, because it works. And you don't have to be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a social worker. It's very, very simple techniques to use to get into the heart of a kid and to break through some of the darkness that they carry with them because of the trauma to which they've been subjected to. There are a lot of trauma people out there, and Dr. Bruce Perry, from Texas, is one of my very favorite rock star guys in the field, and I've learned so much from him. Brian Post is another one. So I just have kind of an eclectic way of dealing with kids, because nobody's the same. They're not even the kids that are raised same family are the same.
Absolutely.
So we've got to look at their individuality and connect. And as a man of faith, as a Christ follower, and I know not everybody subscribes to that particular worldview, but there's a verse that's one of my very favorite verses. It's 1 Corinthians 15:58, and it says, "Therefore, brethren, stand firm, let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, for you know your labor in the Lord is not in vain." And it's that last part that, in the midst of tears and sorrow and hopelessness, where you're looking at, do I really make a difference at all? That last three words, not in vain. We may not see it, like you said, years in the making, but we planted seeds, Irene. We have planted so many seeds through the things that we and those people in our circle of comrades and colleagues have done, and foster parents, they're so loving and so committed. And I truly believe, too, that a lot of us in the human service field are there because we've been through our own garbage growing up, and we said, hey, I want to be able to reach out and help a kid get through the garbage, unlike the way I did when I needed and wanted somebody and I didn't have them. And that was my motivation, honestly, was, I didn't grow up in a terrible home, but I struggled with identity. I struggled with just a lot of different things. And I felt alone, and I went through my own depression, and that's far from me now, but I know what it feels like to feel abandoned, that you're all by yourself. So I want to encourage foster parents that they're not in it by themselves, that they are making a difference. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book also, because I had so many people tell me, you have such awesome, amazing stories, you need to write them down. And so I did. And I know that there are many, many more that I have not written about, but there are other books I've already started in my mind. So we'll see where that goes. But this book, Walk in a Manner Worthy, A Voice in the Foster and Adoptive Care Wilderness, the people that have read it, the reviews on Amazon, the emails I've gotten, this is really hard to get through because I can't quit crying. It's like it evokes those emotions. I'm not in it by myself, and it's inspiring, it's encouraging, and that's what I wanted. In the midst of darkness, there's hope. There's a light, and we're doing the very best we know how to love these kids that are in many ways very, very difficult to love, and yet we continue to do it. We continue. And I love that, looking back and seeing, the accomplishments that God used me to do. And when these kids come back and just remember things that I had no idea I said or did, but they did, because that's what they needed at that moment. Right. So I'm very, very thankful for being able to be in this particular field and the numerous capacities I have been over the course of 4 decades.
Yeah, I've been told the same thing for years as well. Irene, you've got to write a book. And boy, have I got a fear of doing that. Now, I can yak my mouth all the time, and that doesn't seem to bother me. And I just put my foot in it every time I turn around too. But something about putting the words on the paper is intimidating to me. But I'm planning on retiring at the end of this year and becoming a woman of leisure. And I might reach out to you for some ideas on started in writing a book. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your adventure in writing this book? Because it didn't happen overnight. And I think that's part of your story that is important because you didn't throw something on paper, let somebody else edit it, and then put it out there. I mean, you really worked on this. You put so much thought and heart into it. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Interestingly, at a National Foster Parent Conference, I met two people. Richard Fisher was I don't remember his title, but Fostering Families Today magazine. And I was bold enough that I went up and asked he and Cynthia, who was the editor at that time, I said, I'm going to ask you a point blank question. Is there room in your magazine for guest editorials? Because I would love to be able to write some of my stories down. And they said, well, send us some writing and we'll see. And they gave the thumbs up. So over the course of however long, 2001 maybe is when 20 years ago maybe it came out. I have been on their writers board, and I have written several articles. Well, so when I started thinking about writing a book, I thought this is overwhelming. I saw Mount Everest, and I thought I had to climb it all the way in one day, which isn't true. You do one step at a time. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So what I did was I went through my computer, and I'd had like 5 or so computers since I started writing, but I had managed to save every article that I had written for Fostering Families Today magazine. So I started cutting and pasting and putting them on one document, and I had 25,000 words. And it's like, well, heck, that's like a third, if not a half a book already. So I just decided to put those things together. I had some other things that I wanted to use. A couple of the kids that I've worked with, no longer kids, but adults, they had written articles or stories that were also published alongside of mine in Fostering Families Today magazine. And so I've incorporated those. So it's a book of inspiration. We both know Heather Craig Olson, and she was my mentor way back in the day. She is the one that stirred up in me a desire to do training and presentations because she was so good. But she called it a compendium because she wrote one of the little blurbs for me too, a compendium of stories. And that's what it is. Some of them are 4 or 5 pages, chapters. Some of them are 1 or 2, they're different lengths, but each one of them has a message that you make a difference. And that was the point of my writing this book, because so many people had struggled with exactly what you're saying. I feel alone. Am I really making any difference at all? Are these kids going to be any different? And I struggled with that. Diane and I have struggled together with, is this worth it? And yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I wanted to write that book to let the reader know. And the thing about this book is, even though the title has to do with foster care and adoption, it's a book that any caregiver, any parent, any daycare provider, any residential facility worker could read and be greatly encouraged by. So even though the title's got adoption and foster care in it, it kind of is limiting, the scope of readers that could benefit, I think, from this book. And other people have told me the very same thing.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe there's hope for me yet because I've written several articles for Fostering Families Today magazine as well.
Nice.
Jim Hansel as the editor now, and so yeah. In fact, for folks who don't know, Fostering Families Today and their their umbrella company, Fostering Meeting Connections, provides the National Foster Parent Association with 2 pages in every edition that we have for an article. And we are so appreciative of that. And we've had lots of board members, friends of the board, various foster parents that we know had a good message that have written articles for us. And I've been able to write several myself. In fact, we had one not like maybe 2 issues ago that I wrote about a poem that our first daughter, who was adopted as an infant, wrote to me when she was 15, letting me know that she wanted to find her birth mother. And she's now 49 years old. So I wrote that story, and it felt really good to write it. She was very proud of the way that the article came out, and we got a lot of good comments about how a closed adoption back in those days, they were all closed, became a very successful open adoption. And we've got a wonderful relationship with her other family now. And she wound up finding out finally that she had actually 7 half siblings, which we only learned of 2 early on in our efforts to find her family. So boy, what we learned and how the family grew again, so many years later because of that outreach, and people feeling comfortable in talking about their circumstances back when all that happened. Our time is about, go ahead.
I wanted to throw in real quick because you asked me to write an article for NFPA, which in the next edition of Fostering Families Today, I've already sent in, and it will be in there about what it's like to be a foster father, adoptive father. Some key things that I have learned over the course of time.
I thank you so much for stepping up, Kim, and writing that article for us. I want to say something right. Our time goes here. One fun fact. I think it might have been the last time you were at one of the Texas big conferences, not a Winter Growth maybe, but maybe it was Winter Growth. I don't remember. I know that I had a suite in a big hotel, and during that,
it was in Austin.
It's in Austin, contracts with these big hotels. The president of the state association get a suite, right, for free. And it was a lovely suite. Had a little dining table with chairs and couches and other chairs and a bedroom, full bathroom, as a half bath, for guests to use, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's important for people to know that you were so determined to come to Texas and to share your message again. And we had no money to help you with your travel expenses, but you came anyway. And I found out that you didn't have a place to stay. And so my couch in the suite became your resting place, and the spare bedroom bathroom became your bathroom, and it was a wonderful time. I will always remember the camaraderie and just the wonderful discussions we had, sharing some snacks and things to eat, and just visiting on the downtime. But that's a cherished memory. And I'm so glad that we got to do that. And we got to do it because of your determination to educate families, regardless of if the association had any money to help you get there all the way from Iowa or not. That's true dedication, Kim. True dedication. And very, very, very much appreciated.
So can I do something real quick? May I read what you wrote for my book?
Sure.
So this is the blurb that Irene wrote for my book. Kim Combs, impressive book. Your vast range of experiences in the foster care system provide compassion and honesty as you describe some of the many memories you share of the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly, all rolled into one. This is a true and accurate description of foster care and why we love this incredibly difficult yet incredibly rewarding work, whether it be by staff as their job or by volunteers as foster caregivers. Vera Fahlberg once said that every child deserves an irrational advocate. You, kind sir, definitely meet her criteria. And I was so honored that you wrote that, Irene. Thank you very much. And thank you
I
for
might have a word of it, though. There you go. I think we have a mutual admiration society going on here, Kim.
We do.
We do. Well,
And here's the book, by the way.
Yep, there it is. I do encourage people to take a look at it. I know Sean's been running that on the screen, so people, I hope, wrote it down. They have the name of it, and it'll certainly be in the information, connected to the episode on Facebook. There it is. He's got it up there again now. So yeah, there we go. So we're going to sign off now and say goodbye to everybody. And any little final words you have, Kim, before we say goodbye?
Just keep hanging in. You are making a difference, and that is what I want everybody who's listening to this to know, that it doesn't matter what it looks like right now. It takes a long time for a mighty oak to grow, and that starts with the seed. And that's what you guys are doing out there. And I applaud you. You have a very tough job. Yeah, and thank you, Irene, for letting me be a part of this segment this week.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at United Healthcare. For more information about United Healthcare, please visit www.uhc.com.